Hello, Governor, Governesses. What's going on? It's yours truly again, Cat Rio, the Girl with Nine Lives, and the Latin lady of love, the brown sugar spice of sexiness, the not so white lady. It's me. I've given myself all those titles. I don't know why. I just thought it was fun. So, hi. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Enchanté. I'm happy to have you. And if this is your umpteenth time to my channel, girl, you know I love you, girl. Thank you for your support. I am so pleased to be able to have this channel, to have this platform. I am so surprised because when I started this channel 2 years ago, I really just did it to vent about my own bullshit. You know, I really didn't have anybody to talk to about my transition. It was tearing me to shreds. It was so difficult in the beginning to get started. I seriously had overloaded my friends and family with my problems about being trans and what I would experience, you know, and they didn't know how to help me. And ultimately, I inadvertently started pushing people away, because when you do that to people, when you come to them with all your problems all the time, and you never show them that other side of you, that side that they fell in love with, well, you end up pushing them away. And that's exactly what happened to me. So through the suggestion of a friend, I started this channel as a method to vent about my situation. But unbeknownst to me, about 6-7 months in, I realized that I had followers, because after posting the first 6 videos 2 years ago, I just didn't post any for like 7 or 8 months. So when I came back to the channel and I saw that there was all these people subscribing, I was like, holy Shiite Muslim girl, I am so excitable. I was just like blown away that somebody finds me interesting. So you guys inspire me to continue doing this. The comments that you leave, the things that you guys say to me, it's wonderful. It warms my heart. It's such a boost, you know, in not only my self-esteem, but also in my goal in life, like what I'm here to do, the footprint that I want to leave on this planet, which is one of helping people. And with that being said, I want you to know that I come to these videos with nothing but love and forgiveness in my heart. I just want to help and unite humanity. I'm not trying to divide humanity. I just want people to rationally talk about things that are uncomfortable. And I have an odd comfort with the uncomfortable. So this is where you want to be if you want to talk about something that makes everybody feel crazy. Anyway, without further ado, let's talk about this topic today. Sorry, I had like a brain fart. So I want to talk about gender. So people will often ask, what made you want to be trans? Or what happened to you? How did you become trans, right? So I always attribute it to the fact that I have always suffered from gender dysphoria. A lot of trans people, not all of them, but a lot, have been diagnosed with gender dysphoria, and they currently have gender dysphoria. I want to talk about So people will often ask, well, what's it like to have gender dysphoria? It's kind of hard to explain, right? Because, I mean, it's like asking somebody what's it like to have autism or Down syndrome or bipolar 2 disorder. It's something that you're born with. It's something that you really can't compare it to anything else, because you've never known anything else. But I can tell you this much. One of the earliest memories I have of knowing that something was off was when I was probably in first grade. And you know how your school will take a picture of you every year to put in like in a little yearbook or whatever? I remember when I got my picture, I was excited to see it. I was excited to see how my picture came out. And when I saw it, I was completely horrified. And the only thing I can guess as to why I was so horrified was because I saw a little boy in the picture. And I didn't want to see that. That same reaction would happen to me every year when I took the school pictures. In fact, anytime a picture was taken of me, I would dread it, because every time I looked in the picture, I did not see what was inside, which was a female. All my life, everything that was related to boys was completely foreign to me. It had no bearing. I had no interest in it. I did not identify with it. I only identified with female things and girl things. And my parents had me in psychiatric care since I was probably 5 years old, because They wanted to know why their little boy had this compulsion, thinking that he was a little girl. Back then, they didn't really have a term for gender dysphoria. It didn't exist. So I was just told, my parents were just told that I would grow out of it, just let things play out. And in one way, they were right, because after I received a particularly traumatizing event that happened to me, in which I was attacked and beaten up at the age of 10, knocked unconscious, woken up in a bathtub full of ice cubes, with swelling all over my body and second-degree burns all over my body from being left out in the exposure of the sun for hours unconscious. That event changed the game for me. So I suppressed any feelings that I ever had about being a female from that point moving forward, and I just started imitating boys. I started imitating men, and I just kind of suppressed every feeling about being the opposite gender. And I pretty much developed a new personality. I developed a caricature of who I thought I was supposed to be, of what society wanted to see when they looked at me, and how they wanted to interact with me. So I just became a really good actor, such a good actor, that I started to believe that I was that person. And for the rest of my life, I would grow to be a masculine guy, you know? I worked out, I was buff, I was very butch, I guess you can say. It sounds so weird saying that. People just took me at face value. Everybody just thought I was a dude. And biologically I was, you know? So, and I'm not going to say that I had a horrible time living as a man. Actually, while I lived as a man, I developed my career and as a barber, and I became very popular. I was very well received. I was in good standing in my community. I was very successful. I made a lot of money. I had a lot of clientele. My life was pretty much the bee's knees. I mean, I was really living the life. And however, there was always something inside of me that just felt inauthentic. It felt disingenuous. It felt like I was somebody else. But I never remembered that when I was little, I identified as a female. Never. I guess my brain, in order to keep myself from reliving the trauma of what happened to me, it kind of like put all those memories in a little safe box and filed them away in the back of my subconscious. And I honestly, swear to God, never remembered anything about the beating, anything about the abuse, anything about my previous life as a child. All my childhood memories were essentially erased for the majority of my life. It wasn't until I got into a series of accidents where I did receive some brain damage, and I had some memories that were dislodged from my subconscious that came forward. When these memories resurfaced, it was as if I was experiencing that trauma all over again, because these were things I had totally forgotten about. A part of me wanted to think that it was a dream. A part of me wanted to believe that this was just a fantasy of sorts, or a delusion of my mind, and that this really didn't happen to me. That I really wasn't the little boy that used to say he was a little girl. I wanted to believe that I was normal like everybody else, and I was comfortable in my own skin. But everything in my heart and everything in my mind was telling me different. This woman started to want to come forward, and I began to become disgusted with my own appearance again, just like I was when I was little. The body that I worked so hard at the gym to get buff and ripped, and the body that I paid so much money to have tatted up so I can look tough and mean, it was no longer working. It was no longer satisfying me. I was not feeling like it belonged to me. So I had to do the best thing that I knew how to do, and that was seek help. So I checked myself into a behavioral health clinic, aka a mental hospital. And there I stayed 3 months. And in the 3 months, I had around-the-clock care. I would meet with psychiatrists and therapists and counselors every day of the week. I would have group therapy, and I would have also neurologists come in, and they would do tests measuring my brain activity, taking all this information down, all this data, and they would use it in their summary to find out what inflicted me. Now I'm thinking that when I get out of this place, I'm going to be back to normal, right? I'm going to be the same old guy that I always was, and my life was going to go back to normal, and I wouldn't hate myself anymore, and I wouldn't feel uncomfortable in my own skin, and these botched memories can just go away. But that wasn't the case. At the end of the 3 months, I was called in with my family and my ex-husband, and they told us that basically what I was being diagnosed with was gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is something that they're not really quite sure, they meaning the medical community, they're not really sure if it happens at birth or if it happens in the womb or if it's something that happens after birth. They're just very uncertain about it. There's so much about the human mind they just don't know. So honestly, they don't even know what makes headaches happen. So for them to understand when gender dysphoria comes into full term, nobody knows. But I know that it's always been there, always. Because even when I was doing well at the pinnacle of my life, with having a lot of friends and popular and, getting dates and all this crap, I just felt like I was not happy. None of it was satisfying me. None of it was quenching this need that I had to really look deep into my soul to find out who I was. So when I got diagnosed with this, they told me that the only treatment that there is for gender dysphoria is for me to live as the gender that I identify as. Gender identity disorder is what they also call it, but they're the same thing. So when they told me this, I ain't gonna lie, I was low-key hella excited because finally, for one thing, I had a name for what I was suffering from. I always thought that I was just this terrible freak of a person and that I didn't deserve to live. It was something that I was doing. I was really hard on myself. I abused myself. Out of all the abuses that I suffered, the worst abuse that I suffered was the abuse I did to myself. The self-loathing and the self-sabotage, the self-deprecating words that I would let out of my mouth about myself was probably more harmful than the abuse that I suffered at the hands of other people. By being diagnosed with gender dysphoria, it was a freedom. It was a validation. It was my green ticket, my gold ticket, maybe? I don't know. It was a way of saying that there was nothing really wrong with me, that I was not at fault for the way that I felt. The compulsions that I have were nothing of my own doing. This was something that it was naturally occurring in my body for some reason that they do not understand why. And that if I wanted to be peaceful in my soul and in my heart, and if I wanted to be comfortable in my own skin, then I would have to live as that gender that I identified as. Now, I'm not a biological woman, and I never will be. I mean, I can get as many surgeries as I would like. I can get, the bottom surgery. It still will never make me a biological woman. What I can do, however, is I can take synthetic hormones that change my secondary sexual characteristics, and I can modify my body in order to appear to be more woman-like, in order for society to treat me the way I want to be treated. When I ask for people to refer to me as a she and a her, it's not because I want to force you to do it. It's just out of courtesy, because it's something that I suffer from. And if I present myself as a woman, then obviously call me a woman. I'm not trying to be ambiguous. It's very clear what gender I identify as. So if people don't call me a she or her, they're only doing it to be divisive and to be hurtful and cruel. So I know that in society, in the world, there's always going to be those kind of people. But those are not the people that I choose to focus on. I choose to focus on the people that support me. The people that treat me exactly the way that I want to be treated. Not because I deserve it. Not because I demand it. Just because it's the right thing to do. Is you just treat people how you want to be treated. It's not going to hurt them by referring to me as a she or her. It's not going to hurt anybody. We live in a really tough time right now. And trans violence has gone up almost 30% in the free world. In Western societies that used to be accepting of trans people, we're experiencing a lot more violence, a lot more discrimination, a lot more murders are happening. Unfortunately, we don't actually know the full number and the full scale of transgender people that are being murdered, because when they are reported in the news about the murder, they're misgendered. Often the media will refer to transgender people by their legal birth name and not the name that they prefer. And they would report them as the gender that they obviously represent because of their genitals. So by misgendering people, we actually don't know the full scale of all the people that have been murdered because of them being transgender. In other places in the world, in other countries, they murder transgender people like it's going out of style, like it's a sport. So me living here in Fort Lauderdale, in Broward County specifically, I feel so blessed to be here because this is the only county that I'm really safe in. And despite that safety that I live under, that umbrella of safety that I feel that I have, it's never 100% safe. Even under the safety of living in Broward County, I've been attacked 8 times in 4 years. Thank God I walked away relatively unscathed because I'm hypervigilant. I'm ready for the worst case, and I learned in life how to defend myself. I would encourage you, if you're trans, to do the same. If you want to succeed, you always have to plan for the worst case scenario. And people can be capable of really horrible things. So don't ever feel like you are totally 100% safe. At the same time, you can't live in fear either. And I refuse to live in fear. I refuse to live by anybody else's standards or rules. And I refuse to let people dictate how I'm going to live my life. So this is me. I'm not any different than you. I wasn't born with any special type of privilege. I'm not mentally stronger than any one of you. I'm not some kind of like character superhero. I'm just a regular person that wants to live my life, and I refuse to live my life in any other way than the way that I want to live it. That's it. I don't want people to think that there's anything grandiose about me. I'm not special in any way. I'm just a regular person that got fed up with living a lie. So whenever that feeling of fear that you feel about being who you are subsides to the feeling of wanting to live your life just the way that you want it, then you will continue to live in the shadows. But when that fear goes away, there's no stopping you from that point forward. That diagnosis that I received and that self-acceptance that I had for myself, that was the ticket to freedom. So thank you for your time. I welcome any comments you may have, even those that are contrary to mine. I believe that's important for us to always hear different points of view. And I appreciate you with your support for my channel. And don't forget to hit the like button, please, and subscribe to my channel. And I hope to see you in my next video.